And we're live. I think we're live, Ron. There's a delay, so I looked down at the iPad to make sure we're live, but I'm going to pretend we're live right now. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Battles. And I have a very special guest, James White of Signalnoise Studio with me. James, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, Paul. Good to see you again, man. Yeah, man. Thank you very much for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it. And hey, everybody that's out there in plastic battles on the plastic battlefield.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, you can have that one.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, my name is James White, and I run a studio called Signalnoise. I'm an illustrator, designer, raging nostalgist, I guess I would be called. And yeah, I'm honored to be on your show, man, because me and Paul, I mean, we go way back. We go like 10 years or something. We've been friends.
So. Yeah, I think it's been like a decade. It was just crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, man. We go right back to like when I used to do my broadcast way back in the day. And, you know, we have a friendship founded on the love of our shared childhoods in the 1980s. And, you know, we always said that Buffalo is the sister city to Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, where I'm from.
Right.
And, yeah, and if we grew up in the same town, we would have been best pals.
I think so.
Here we are.
Yeah, we're like the same age, all that kind of stuff. So, and we were in the same stuff at like the same time, I think. Like, we were like heavy. I was heavy into Image Comics at the same time you were. You know, obviously when we were younger, we were into G.I. Joe and He-Man and Transformers and all that stuff. And then wrestling, we were both into wrestling at the same time. You know, I was going to, if I had time, I was going to. So the Thursday Night Battles logo is inspired by Saturday Night Main Event, right? Which is the old WWF thing. So what I was going to do was I found some intros of those, and I was going to like rip them and then put them up and have like one of the Saturday Night Main Event intros, but I just ran out of time. Yeah. So, but maybe for a future thing.
I'll do a makeshift one here. Like, whoa, hey, there we go.
You need the I can't believe they licensed that song for the Saturday Night Main Event, by the way.
You what?
I can't believe they licensed that song for the intro. Saturday Night Main Event. It was like that 80s song. I don't know the name of it, but if you guys haven't seen it, just look it up on YouTube, and you'll be like, hey, I know that song. And it's like, whoa, why are they using this for wrestling? So, but anyway, yeah, I haven't seen James in person in too long. I think it would have been a couple years ago. Should I tell the story of when I went to your wedding? what happened?
Oh man. Yeah, god damn it. Yeah. Go ahead.
So,
god damn.
So I didn't clear this with you before, but the quick story is so James is getting married. So he married a lady from the UK and they had like a ceremony there and a ceremony in Dartmouth. Or was it in Halifax? It was in Dartmouth, right?
It was in Dartmouth, or the ceremony was in Halifax. I lived in Dartmouth at the time.
Right. Okay. So, so he like invited me and my girlfriend and I. I've never been that far north. I think that's more north than Montreal, right? I think that's they're pretty like close.
They're pretty close.
But yeah, I've never been to Dartmouth or Halifax, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. So we fly in or whatever, and we're there, and I think it was like the first day I was there, or maybe the second day, I get these like. Not frantic. I don't know what to call it. I could tell how upset you were. You were so first of all, James was deadly sick. I don't know if you had COVID then. Who knows what you had?
Yeah, I had pre-COVID.
Yeah, but you were like people were seriously worried, and you were like super sick, and like didn't you go to the hospital and stuff? And
yeah, I did. And that the hospital was the final call because I came. It's a form of food poisoning. It's campylobactosis.
Oh, so you get it. You found out what it was.
Yeah, and they ended up telling me like the week after that it was, and I was like ill in bed, couldn't keep water in my system, and it was like that was when my wedding party, the reception was supposed to happen, is that weekend.
Yeah,
and I couldn't get out of bed, and it was like a race against the clock. Like it was ticking down. Like Wednesday, I'm still feeling crappy. Thursday, still feeling crappy. Friday. got to go to the hospital, and then like that's when we had to make the call, like we got to cancel our goddamn wedding reception.
Oh, it was. I mean, you postponed it, and I had to leave, but you were sending me messages like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "Dude, just don't die. It's fine. I'll find something to do." I mean, this is a vacation, so thank God you had kind of done this introduction of me to Sean Word Burglar. Kind of like via Twitter or something while we were at the same JoeCon in Loveland, Colorado. And so we ended up hanging out and becoming friends kind of because of you. And he was also in town for your reception. So it was great. So basically it turned into like this few day long double date between me and my girlfriend and Sean and his girlfriend, now wife. And we just hung out and had a great time. I felt bad about it because I'm like, I'm having a great time, and James is really sick. You know what I mean? But you made it.
Screw that guy.
But you made it, so it's all good now. And I met a few other of your friends too there. I think Ben Jedry I met, and like a slew of people one night. It was awesome. So
yeah, you would have met Ben and Dave and whatever. And you guys actually went to a place called Battery Park, a bar that is literally around the corner from where I live. And I knew you guys were there through some goddamn Facebook post.
Right.
And I was like on the phone. I'm like, I like was crawling out of bed, like pulling a shirt on. I was like, I'm just gonna. And Naomi was like, get back in bed. If you go anywhere near a beer, you'll like straight up die. So yeah, that didn't happen, unfortunately. I was so close, though, man. I was gonna crawl over there to see you guys.
Well, I know. I remember that. I'm glad you didn't die, and I'm glad you're good. And hey, we could always hang out again. Maybe one day when this COVID thing's over, and maybe one thing you used to do was go around to design conferences and do like talks. And you've done, I think you did one, if not two, here in Cleveland, which I was at one.
Yeah.
And now I'm in Cleveland. And if you ever make it out this way, we can hang, because now you're in the UK, which is crazy. Yeah. Like it's got to be like 11:15 there now. So thank you for staying up late, and doing this. But it's crazy. I've never been off the continent, so so maybe I'll make it there one day. If not, I'll just have to wait for you to come home.
Hey man, as my wife would say to any potential guests, you have a place to stay. So now you have a reason to come over here, and it's we won't charge you that much.
All right, sweet. Same. Hey, same. You can stay here. You can hang. I can put a cot in the Joe room, and you can just sleep in here with all the toys. I actually have a guest room, but you could still just sleep in here. It's cooler.
I don't want a guest room. I want to be where the helicopters are.
I got one right here. I got one right on the floor. I got a tomahawk ready to go.
Who has a helicopter at arm's reach?
I have lots of toys at arm's reach. So all right. Yeah. So cool. So all right. So the reason you're here tonight, other than being a friend and a super cool dude, is you've got like some G.I. Joe related artwork floating around the internet. It's not out in physical people's hands yet, but so we want to get into that a little bit. And so first off, I think what I should show is just to be be appropriate. I'm going to show. Let's see if this works. Okay, so I've just got this little movie. I showed this last when we did the Saturday Night Nerd Out with Chris from Full Force. It's just a little scroll of your Instagram page. And so this is just to give people who don't maybe know who you are yet a look at some of your work. It's all like 80s inspired neon, just awesome stuff. And like everything from like sketches up to like final like Photoshop, Illustrator, looking artwork. So, and the first thing you might see in this is there's a little bit of Destro art in the top left corner, and we'll get into that here now. So I'll turn this off, and we're back. So, well, before we get into that, kind of like, I guess, how does it feel to do some legit toy packaging artwork, like, and not just any toy. I mean, it's not like it's like a toy brand that you collected as a kid, and now you actually have legit official artwork on a new G.I. Joe toy. How's it feel?
Yeah. It feels like it was a myriad of emotions going through this whole process, as you can imagine. At this point, um, very satisfied and happy with not so much my result of that artwork, but the reception it got, because that was terrifying before it was going to be released. Because and this is all part of the process, but I was given a glimpse of some of the other artworks that were going to end up on the other figures. I was shown Tracy Ching's Snake Eyes. I was shown Phil Noto's what did
Scarlet.
Phil illustrate? Scarlet. I saw that one, and one other one. It might have been Dan Mumford's Cobra Commander,
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely crapping myself scared because like all of that artwork is immaculate and looks nothing like the goofy crap that I'm making, right? This kind of cartoony pink, and I'm not trying to sell myself short or, be self-deprecating or anything like that. It was legit. Like, my stuff I can't hold a candle to this stuff. Like, this is legit illustration, and I'm over here goofing around with pinks and lens flares and things. I'm like, I don't know if the Joe fans are going to be okay with this.
Well, I would say, like, it's out of all the artwork, like, yours stands out a lot because it is so different, the style. But I also love the fact that it's on such an amazing random character, it seems. You know what I mean? It's on Destro, but not just any Destro. It's on this one that has so much fan lore to it. And it was so crazy to even see it pop up on I think when I found out about it that I was like, well, I had a little, you gave me a little sneak peek of it early, so I knew like you had done something, and I'm like, man, are they gonna actually do that character? And I'm like, is it gonna be part of this line? Maybe it's a different toy line. Who knows when it's coming?
Yeah.
And I was so excited for you when I saw it that I think I sent you like the images. I was like, man, this just leaked, so take a look.
Yeah, and you saw the final art before I did. That was the funny thing, like actually on the package. But to rewind, and I know you mentioned this story on when you were talking to Chris the other day. Yo, shout out Chris! I see you in the chat room, and I apologize for not emailing you back. I will email you tomorrow. But you told this story. The reason you got a little bit of a sneak peek, or I gave you the heads up on what was happening, was because I didn't know what the hell Pimp Daddy Destro was. I had no idea, right? So I was told that I was going to be doing Destro, and I was flipping because Destro is my favorite character design in all of G.I. Joe. He always has been. And then I was told, no, it's going to be this variant version called Pimp Daddy Destro, and I was like, what is that? That sounds stupid.
I remember your DM. It was like, have you seen this one before? And I'm like, yeah, and you're like, this is what they assigned me or whatever. I'm like, oh my god, you're kidding. I was like, oh my god, because then I kind of filled you in on the backstory, how it was. That name isn't an official name by any means. That's just a random, like, I don't know what you would call it. Some guy at a Chinese factory assembling these packs of figures I think this came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, painted up a few of these in this weird mock-up. I don't know what it was, and they made it into circulation even though they weren't supposed to. And then, the lore started. Like, these made it out, the rest made it out normal, so there's only a few that have the leopard print and the color scheme. And then the fans gave it this name because of obviously what it looks like. And then later, with the modern era figures, the G.I. Joe Club, which was affiliated with Hasbro but not Hasbro, they released like an updated modern version. Right. And that was just for like the G.I. Joe Club and collectors, so people go to JoeCon and whatnot. So it wasn't at retail or anything. Yeah. So, so that's why I thought it was never an official release from Hasbro in any like direct fashion. And I love though that they changed the name. They're like, we don't want to be associated with that name because it's not the greatest name, but we're going to give it another name, but the initials are the same. It's still PDD, which is how a lot of fans refer to him. So, and the name's amazing.
Right.
The name's amazing.
Oh, it's way better. Pimp Daddy just sounds very like, it sounds like it was invented in the 90s when it was,
right.
Like it's a good update. But, I wasn't, we have to sign like all of these contracts and that kind of thing. So I appreciate you giving me the heads up, because I was sitting in Dartmouth at the time before I moved over here. And I was sitting there at my desk like, I don't know who this character is. I don't know what. Is it just, it's Destro with a different paint, which is what it was. But yeah, you gave me the insight, you gave me the rundown, you sent me a bunch of links, and we're like, no, read up on this, read this, and this is what it is. And you were so excited about it that helped me get excited about it, and it helped me conjure an image like oh, he should be about attitude. He's not about Destro busting to a wall or something, right? So that helped out a lot. And I wasn't allowed to tell anybody, so thank you for being sworn to secrecy for the past year and helping me out with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I was just excited to know that something was in the works for the brand, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so exciting. And then you were working on it too, which is even crazier. So yeah.
And Hasbro were awesome, and they also kept their cards so close to their chest with all of the other figures. Like, I didn't really know what the line was until it was released. I didn't know what I was a part of, so I only caught glimpses of other people's artworks as examples when I was building mine. Like, say, can you build the artwork to wrap around the side of a box or what have you? And I didn't even know what the line was called. I had no idea what it was. They sent me an early rendition of what the figure would be, but I really didn't know what it was, and so I found it hard to get excited about it. Like, is this
right?
Is it a line? Is it a one-off? Right. I really had no idea. So, and that is probably by design, because number one, Hasbro knows that they got guys like Plastic Battles out there trying to get all the details on their upcoming stuff, but also like that kind of helped me. Like, designing in that silo kept me focused on my character without having to worry about the broad spectrum of what it was and where it would fit in. Right. So that might have yielded a different result, which I think it did. It looks weird as hell, and here we are.
Well, did you know at the time other artists were working on Joe's and who they were, or did you find that out later?
I found that out later, yeah, because the only art I've seen, I didn't even know who did the art. They just sent it and say, this is what we're developing for, say, Snake Eyes. Can you lay out the art with this in mind?
Gotcha.
And I would see the art go like, what the hell what is all of this? So I really had no idea, and which was great. Like, it was in hindsight, it was the perfect way to develop something, because my figure is so out of the ordinary from all the other figures that designing it in that silo, like I said, actually benefited the final art.
Yeah, and I know like it was supposed to be like an SDCC exclusive. That's what I heard, and because it isn't happening, they released as part of Hasbro Pulse as pre-order. But it wasn't like, it's not typically a part of like the regular retail waves. It was like something different and special, which is cool too, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think early on they had told us it was going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, but again, we didn't know if it was going to be an exclusive. It was just going to be available at the booth. We had no idea. So, yeah, man, they kept us in the dark just the right amount, I think.
Chris says he loves the casino heist backstory for him that Lenny talked about on the live stream. Amazing. So Lenny's the G.I. Joe product design head, I guess, and yeah, they have like a whole casino backstory for the Prophet Director Destro and everything. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, I'm sure Chris will talk to you about that when you join him on maybe a podcast in the future, possibly. We'll see.
You're damn right, Chris. it's an ink.
So, I want to rewind a bit. Because you touched on Destro was your favorite Joe character. And so I kind of want to know, like, growing up with, G.I. Joe in the 80s, what other characters did you like in G.I. Joe? Was Destro like far and away your favorite, or was there a reason for the fact that he's your favorite character? The Chrome Dome, maybe?
That's exactly it, man. He had a chrome head. Like, that was it, right? And the weird thing is, when I was a kid, I never owned a Destro figure. He was my favorite, and I think my cousin Steven had him, and I was like, "Who is this? He's got a chrome, like shiny. This guy's awesome!" And he was just bald with the red collar, and like he just looked dope as hell, right? So he was like far and away my favorite. But I mean, I was pretty standard. Now I got a bit of a confession to make here when it comes to GI Joe. I'm gonna do it on your show.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, growing up where I did, like location-wise, for some reason there were certain television shows that I never crossed paths with. And I think I might have seen one or two episodes of G.I. Joe growing up, and that was
really?
it. Which is very weird.
Yeah.
And the same happened to me with Thundercats and Voltron.
Really?
I never saw an episode of those things. But the weird thing is, me and my friends were all into the franchises without having been propelled by the cartoon.
Interesting. That's crazy to know. Yeah, because that was like a huge reason many people were into the brands, were because of like the cartoons or other supporting media, and then they got into the toys. But it's interesting to know that you were into the toys without that push.
Absolutely. It was weird as hell, and I can't really... All I can quantify that with is my friends, just word of mouth on the playground, like they would show up with their figures or their vehicles or whatever, and toy aisles in stores. Like you walk down, like look at the background of your window right now, like walking down a toy aisle in 1984 and seeing all of that stuff. There's explosions behind all the vehicles and people, busting out of walls. And it was great, like that, and so the box art was definitely like a part of the language growing up as kids in the 80s was that box art, and that's what kept me in the franchise. So to answer your question in terms of favorite characters, I was pretty standard, just going by the figures and looks alone. Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow. I think I had a barbecue figure growing up. My first vehicle was... you're going to have to help me out with the names and stuff, but the first vehicle I had was the Jeep with the gun.
Oh, the Vamp. Yeah.
The Vamp, right. And that didn't come with Duke. Who came with
Clutch.
it? Clutch, yep. Right. He had the mustache?
He had a beard. He had like the beard and everything. Yeah, the mustache and beard.
Right, Clutch. Okay. That would be the first vehicle that I got. And I might have had like it wasn't maybe I did have a Hiss tank. I might have had a Hiss. And one other vehicle that I had that I didn't like too much because it was a stationary thing. It was like a blue Cobra vehicle that had guns on both sides.
Yeah, I got one.
Asp.
I got one right back here. Hold on. Let's see if I can.
Is it in there?
I can't get it out because I'm in the way, but I got it in the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a stationary vehicle, right? And I was like, well, I want my vehicles moving around. I don't want to just sit that there and
you got to hook it to the. You had to hook it to the Hiss and pull it around because it just hooked on. I know what you mean. It's just like a cannon basically with some wheels to be towed.
Right. Goddamn. So that was growing up. But...
My friend who lived 2 doors down drove it around like a vehicle, and it used to make me so mad as a kid. I'm like, it doesn't have an engine, dude. You can't drive this.
Well, you're gonna hate me then because I decided, well, I'm not gonna have it stationary, so mine was like a spaceship. So I was like,
I'll take that. I'll take that. That's cool. It looks like it could be like a Buck Rogers spaceship.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. Like I don't know, but yeah, man. So growing up, it was kind of weird, that. Oh, I had the Marvel comics as well, so I had a bunch of the GI Joe comics.
Okay, I wanted to ask you that because there are some people who grow up real heavy on the cartoon and really not into the comics. Other people heavy in the comics, maybe not much in the cartoon, but I think there's less of them because the cartoon was everywhere, especially in the States. And then there's people like me who was like, I had both, like I was heavy into both, and I accepted. Without a problem, I accepted the different like dimensions. Like certain things were the same, but a lot of the stuff was different. You know what I mean? Like in the cartoon, it was Scarlet and Duke, but in the comic book, it was Snake Eyes and Scarlet were a thing. And those differences I was okay with because I kind of like just natively understood.
Right. I was the exact same way. Like growing up, I was a He-Man kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was like the top three. There was He-Man, there was Transformers and G.I. Joe, and then you had like the other peripherals like what is it, Centurions and
Yeah.
Sectors and all of those kind of things. But He-Man was the same way of what you just said. Like you just accepted that the mini comics were different from the cartoon,
Right.
and the cartoon style was different from what the toy style
Right.
was. And then the movie happened and everything was out the window. So,
Yeah.
you just accepted that as a
Yeah,
kid.
I was like, okay, this is what they're doing. That's fine. I was like, as long as I get to see stories of some kind, I'm excited. Um,
Yeah.
and the other thing about which you pointed out, which I think is so true of that time that can't be replicated anymore because it was pre-internet, was you would find out about new toys from your friends. If it wasn't on a commercial or in a cartoon, you would first see toys like at school on recess or something, or in the morning before class, like at the bus stop. Your buddy would have a new Joe in his pocket, and pull it out, and you'd be like, "Ooh, what's this?" I mean, that's how I found out about the Cobra Rattler. I remember the blue plane. I went. My neighbor who lived on the other side of the block, so our backyards kind of came together. I remember going to his
Nice.
place. It was right after Christmas. I think it was Christmas or his birthday. He got a bunch of presents. It might have been his birthday. And he pulls out the Rattler, and I was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "This is a Cobra jet." I'm like, "What?" There was no Cobra planes at this point, and I lost my mind,
Uh,
and I just ran home and was like, "We have to go to the store. I gotta go to the store." And then we went to the store, and of course, we went to like 5 stores, and none of them had it. And my mom's like, "All right, that's it," And it was like months before I got it, but it was so exciting, that feeling. And of course, his landing gear were
yeah.
broken off immediately. Guys, the Joe guys know about the back landing gear. Within 24 hours of him owning that, he had snapped them both off. You know,
Oh,
there's always that kid
God, crappy man. But you
who breaks everything.
you hit the nail on the head. Like going to a friend's birthday party was where you saw not only like new GI Joes and new He-Mans and Transformers, but they opened them up and they were still in the
Yeah,
box.
yeah.
And that's something that like, whoa, like you see the box, you see the toy, you get the whole experience straight away. So yeah, man, like Christmas mornings were great for that, and other kids' birthdays.
Right, exactly. Oh man, and then
Yeah.
you'd be like trying to have fun at the party, but really you're just thinking like, I want those things that they got, and like, how do I convince my parents to get me some of this stuff as soon as possible? So like you're
Yeah.
only half dialed in the rest of the party because your mind's scheming. At least that's how I was.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to figure like how many days is it until Easter or
Right.
whatever the next present
Right.
getting moment is. You're like, right, that's going to be 200 days. Oh man.
Yeah, I found
So,
out about like something. It had to be like the mid '80s, and I remember going. My parents sent me to a Catholic grade school, so I remember we were talking about some. I don't even know what it's called anymore. There's like a holiday in December before. Not like a national holiday, but a holiday like on the calendar or something of in December before Christmas, and it's like you put your boot outside the door and they put stuff in your boot. I don't know, it's just this weird thing. So I remember telling my parents like, this is a thing, we have to do it, just so I could get some Christmas presents like pre-Christmas. And of course it worked.
nice.
It worked out great. I got Battle Force 2000 stuff in '87, which is like, hilarious now looking back at it. But at the time, it was such weird G.I. Joe toys that I was excited about it.
Oh man, awesome. One Christmas I got it might have been Christmas or birthday, I can't remember, but I got that suit, the big armor suit that you clip
Oh,
on,
the snake.
like the outside. Is that what
Yeah,
it's
the
called?
Cobra snake battle
That
armor.
thing. Did that thing ever work properly for you at
Oh,
all? I could not get that damn thing to work. It would just keep falling off.
oh,
And,
really?
oh, man.
Yeah, mine's been pretty good. Of course, I have those here too. I've got blue ones, and there's like a blue one that came out in the '80s, and then the one that came out prior was the grayish, kind of whitish gray.
I got the gray.
Yeah, that's like the most common one, and but mine always stay together pretty good. But I do
Oh,
know,
must have had it defective.
well, maybe it could have been like, sometimes the pegs just are a little loose and it falls off, like it happens with the missiles on some of these things where Some of them, they stick in real nice on the planes. Other ones, you put the missile in and you pick it up and they just fall right out because the hole's slightly too big. So you gotta, yeah. So that could have been, man. Maybe you just got a bad one. Maybe you should try to return it.
Yeah.
Call up Hasbro now and be like,
I
just realized that this wasn't working the way it was supposed to have worked. So someone's got to do something about it.
It's like, do you guys still? I have my receipt from 1984.
Yeah.
So
you're like, hey, listen, I just did artwork on the Prophet Director Destro, so I have to have some pull at this point. So
hello,
yeah. Hasbro, hello. They're like, he's calling from the United Kingdom. Okay, so we're back on the PDD. So let's take a look. So I'm gonna roll right into this. I'm going to show some of your so I'm going to show like maybe something most people haven't seen first, which is an alternate sketch that you had done prior to the one that landed on the box. And I'm going to go from you have the actual sketch there, and then I have like the inked version, and then like two like kind of like like digital comps. But why don't you show the sketch, and then I'll show the rest.
Oh, sure, man. Yeah. I'll show you the first. Like, I'll just show these in sequence, and you probably had these. But the very first one that I drew is this, and I don't know.
Oh, that's the first one you drew?
I don't know if you have this one.
Yes, that's the one I have
in there. But and this one here is when I thought I was doing the original Destro. So that's what that is. So it's him in his original outfit. And then this is what I sent over to them. They said, "Oh, you're actually doing this other version," and I was like, "Oh no." So
that's the worst when you've already put in the work and you're like, oh. Like sometimes that happens on stuff I'm working on too for my day job, where I'm like, oh, I got this, and I do all the work, and I'm like, I'm good. And then you have like a meeting, and they're like, oh, well, we didn't tell you, but it's this, and you're like, really? Like that would have been good to know at a time, but it happens.
Yeah, man. I was completely fine with it after. Like, I literally got the news that I was doing the alternate version of Destro, and then I think I was chatting with you like 2 hours later because I was like, I don't know what this is. So yeah, man, it got course corrected pretty quick.
All right, I'll throw that up on the screen. I'll throw that up on the screen so people can see. So this is the one he just held up. So this is like the sketch with the ink of like the normal like your standard version 1 Destro. And then we've got what kind of like I've got these other two. So this is going to the PDD though. It's just the same basic pose. So you've got like one where it's like the PDD colors, but it's got like that Kirby crackle around him, you know. And he's firing the laser, which I love the laser blast on this. I love it. I don't know if you saw, but I did like a photo on Instagram like a couple weeks back of a J.J. Locust helicopter firing lasers, and I photoshopped in the lasers and everything, and I was kind of going for these muzzle flashes like that, but you nailed what I was trying to go for, and I couldn't quite, it was out of focus too, so I had to blur it, so it really wasn't coming to the point. But this, like looking at this, I was like, oh man, that's the one. That's what it looks like. That reminds me of the Sunbow cartoon. The way the blaster, like the lasers would blast out of the, if you like pause the video, it kind of looks like that, you know?
Yeah, those that's really inspired by I know a lot of guys that do animation and stuff in Halifax back home, and I noticed once, it was years ago, I can't remember who drew it, but they had these little samples of laser blasts, and they did that thing like before the laser came out of the muzzle, it had this little like crackle, this flash, and then the laser came out, and yeah, that's totally what I was trying to hit with that effect.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Okay, and then you sent me over this one too, which is taking like PDD to like another level, like different color scheme. It's just crazy. This is like, I would say this is the Signalnoise Destro, is what this one is. This is the Signalnoise Destro. There it is. Like the blue and the magenta. It's crazy awesome. I kind of want, I know the fandom will go crazy if there's 3 Destros like right away, but like down the road, like this like Silverhead PDD with these neon colors would be hilarious for like some weird alternate universe line or something like that.
Yeah, that one was super fun to work up because one of the little tips that or I guess like not so much inspiration jump points that Hasbro gave me, but they at some point it was mentioned they said, get wild with your colors, and they mentioned Fortnite as an example. They said Fortnite. It said don't worry about all the wacky characters and all that kind of stuff, but just think about the colors. Like they're really bright, and that kind of evokes the 80s version of G.I. Joe, where everything was really colorful, especially when you get into the 90s and you get fluorescence and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But they said just like, do your thing, add some color to it, and just experiment a little bit. So I did this, and obviously they were like, well, this was more of like, I wasn't on the right track at this point in the process, I suppose. So I was just trying to figure out my way and trying to figure out and try some different things, and did a lot of artwork to send to them before we got to the point where the PDD that I did illustrate the genesis of that kind of started to take shape. So,
Cujo says Vaporwave Destro. I like that. I like that name.
Damn right. Destro.
Yeah, don't say Fortnite too loud around these Joe fans, because there's a few. I don't think they're in here, but there's a few that are like not fans of the Classified series because they look like Fortnite characters in quotations, because they're more colorful and there's more paint apps.
Really?
Yeah. But I feel like this was the right. I mean, I was saying this. I even talked to you about this way back when we were talking about this initially, which I feel like to get the brand alive, they kind of have to tap into things like Fortnite or Guardians of the Galaxy. Tap into the Sunbow series a little bit. Try to get some of that fun back into G.I. Joe instead of like straight up like Black Ops, straight up military. You know what I mean? Because I just don't think, at least now, that's going to translate. And also, it makes for kind of boring toys because they all start to look the same.
Did you?
So yeah.
Wasn't the line that came out previous to Classified? Was that like kind of the Black Ops kind of darker version or something in like the in the 2000 teens sometime?
They did they did some different lines. They definitely did, and they had like a 50th anniversary line, which was like modern updates to classic characters and stuff. I just felt like if they were going to pick a direction, the more fun way seemed like the way to go to keep the brand relevant and alive, so that if they make money, doing that stuff, then like the Transformers line, there's every Transformer you can think of these days. Like everything from straight up 80s versions to the Bayformers were around to all that kind of stuff, because they were making so much money on the Bayformers. I hated the Bayformers, but that got us things like the G1 line, the retro line that was at Walmart, and it got us these new 6-inch ones. They don't transform, but there's these awesome like G1 versions from like the movie, from Transformers the movie. So it gives you these. You wouldn't have gotten these otherwise if the Bayformer stuff didn't bring the brand in so much money. So like if you got to do some fun stuff that maybe some people don't like, that will bring in enough money where they could do. We're going to do classic Sunbow characters, right? They'll look like the Filmation line that like for He-Man that Super 7 did, or they could do straight up. Take the O-Ring original ARH Real American Hero versions and make straight up versions in 6-inch. We're getting a retro line at Walmart. We know that's happening. We haven't seen any images, but we're pretty sure it's all O-Ring stuff, which is something people have wanted, a certain segment of fans. So like if this stuff makes money, we get all this stuff, so.
Right, exactly, yeah. Well, looping back to what you said, I want to put this to bed for any Joe fans that might be annoyed that I mentioned the F word, Fortnite. What I want to state, like, to be clear, Hasbro never told me it should be inspired by Fortnite. Like, that's not at all. Like, it was what they were trying to evoke was we want the color, we want colorful characters, and that was something that they evoked. And they said, like, think of 1980s G.I. Joe, think of those figures, the brightly colored figures you had when you were growing up, and think like if you wanted a modern jump point, think of something like Fortnite with all these bright characters and colors. So it wasn't a line inspired by that at all.
Sure, I don't.
It came up.
I don't think it necessarily is inspired by that either. I think it's just a matter of, like you said, trying to like infuse some color into the line, and I think a lot of Joe fans forget how crazy weird the original O-ring figures really were. You know, you've got like, I mean, there's some guys are straight up military looking guys who have like an M16, back then. But then you've got other guys like Sci-Fi, who's neon green. He's got a laser rifle that isn't a real laser rifle, and you've got Cobra troops running around in yellow and purple clothes and stuff. And so like, and you got like, I got one right here. This is Chris's favorite character. You got Lightfoot, in all yellow with a blue helmet and an orange robot and green backpack. Like, it was just as crazy. It was just as crazy and colorful then. And this did better. This line did better than any other G.I. Joe line ever. Even the '60s. Like, they sold so much of this stuff in the '80s.
Wow.
So, So yeah, lean into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what they did, and Hasbro, and I'm coming off of a job working for them, but I'm not telling tales at a school here. Like, Hasbro's heart was in exactly the right place when they were developing this line, just based on the dialogue that we had back and forth. It was Sean that showed up on the Pulse, the reveal, cool. the last week. That was who we were dealing with, and he was wonderful. Like, you could tell. He's not only trying to sell plastic to people, like, he cares. Like, he really does care about this line, and his heart was in the right place when him and the team were developing it, and they got the right inspirations from the right time periods and updated some of it, and it's great. It was inspired by the things that it should have been inspired by, and I think they did a great job, and it's really cool to hear that the hardcore Joe fans it's being well received, because
I think so. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
You're done. That's it. I cut you off. I turned your mic off.
Yep.
Like, even people who are there's a lot of people who are hesitant at first, and now that they're seeing the figures are getting in on it, and or picking, a lot of collectors will pick the figures they like, so they'll pick this or pick that. But there are a lot of people who are like toy photographers or other toy collectors who collect 6-inch scale figures like Marvel Legends and Black Series Star Wars, and they're getting in on this, which is, I think, kind of something Hasbro wanted too, is to take advantage of the 6-inch boom of figures. And the community's like, I'm already seeing them start to like pop up on Instagram, the 6-inch Joes, with people who traditionally have never had any Joes in their photography or anything like that. So that's good. And specifically, there's a segment of people who, I'm like, I don't collect Joes, but I want that Prophet Director Destro. And I've been hearing that a lot. Like, I have to get this figure. And that's part of, like, the fun, too. Like, if that guy's not for you, you don't get him. You get the regular Destro. But there are people who are going to do the opposite and not get any of the others and just get that guy because he's so crazy, weird, and cool.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to show your some of your other stuff here. So...
Oh, one sec, man. I think I have an intercut image that will segue into what you're going to show.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for the Destro. So I'm going to do my best to show this on screen. This is when the actual Destro started to take shape. Nice. That ended up being like kind of the genesis of the final. So I was sitting in a bar. Do you remember pubs? Remember we can go places and have a beer?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I was in Battery Park, actually, the place that you hung out in Dartmouth, and
nice.
I was trying to figure out like what is this character, Pimp Daddy Destro? Like, what? So the first thing that popped into my head was like, he's got to have some swagger or some attitude or something. So I was just trying to draw him going like, what? You want some of this?
I really dig those. Yeah, those are awesome.
Down here, don't know if you can see that one right down here. This was the first appearance of the sunglasses.
Yeah, I see it.
Right there. And that one I drew and just started laughing. Like I can't, a guy with a gold head that's also wearing sunglasses, like, wouldn't they slide off? Like, I don't know. But I drew it and I just thought it was so funny that I sketched it up and sent it to Sean, and he loved it. So yeah, we ended up chasing that idea.
So that is why the toy comes with sunglasses. So thank you very much, because I think that is one of the coolest things the toy comes with two amazing things: the sunglasses and the burning stack of cash, which is, I just think it's just amazing. I think I have an image of that too. Let me put that up. There it is. If people haven't seen the sunglasses or the burning stack of cash, here's an image of both. And I just think, like, this is, and plus he's got that Marcellus Wallace case, full of money, which is cool. I mean, I just think the accessories of this guy are amazing. And I cannot wait to take some photos of this guy and, even move those sunglasses around, put them on some different figures, too, just to see what they look like on some other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good idea, man. Like those damn sunglasses, like when you and I had a back and forth when you sent me the leaked images, right? Like,
right.
I had no idea until you sent me the leaked images that the sunglasses were going to be a part of the figure. I had no idea. That's another thing, like Hasbro playing things really close to the chest. So that was a surprise for me. And, I saw it and like my heart stopped. It's like I didn't know they were, what's happening? So it was like, art became life. It was really, really cool. And that must have been Sean's call, man. They didn't even tell me they were doing it. Awesome. So, pleasant surprise.
Yeah, that had to be a great surprise, man. All right, so seeing those sketches, like I haven't seen those yet. You just showed, so those are amazing. And I know, like, just from knowing you and seeing your sketchbooks before, like you do several sketches and comps, and I love seeing the process from like the early, real rough stuff to like the more like clean comps to like all the way through to the final version. It's really interesting.
Right.
And you're one of the people who like really does document that process in some fashion. And you archive and keep all of your sketchbooks, which is crazy. I mean, you've got them, going back to like high school or something, right? Or before?
I have them going back to 1988 is the lowest number that I have here. Yeah. So, like this one here, 1988 to 1991 is in this one. And I think, you've seen this one before, huh? Sectors,
yes.
A little bit of toy drawing. But there's one in particular that I got to pull out here. It'll just take me a second. I know it's in here.
I think I know what you're going for. I think. I'm gonna see if I'm right.
I think you've seen it before. Yeah, you've probably seen it before. Where is he? Oh, come on. Don't embarrass me. I know it's in here, goddammit.
I can't, so I'm jealous because a lot of my sketches and stuff I did in, 80s and early 90s, I somehow, I don't know, I mean, I didn't throw them out on purpose, but I think in one of our moves, they got lost or something. But I've got tons of sketchbooks after that, but I know there's awesome stuff that I'll never see again, so it's a bummer.
Right.
I remember, too, you had a sketchbook that I still remember. It was like after a conference or something that you had left or lost somewhere at the conference. And I remember how devastated you were because it was like a year's worth or something of your life of sketches. But someone found it and you got it back, which was crazy.
Yeah, it was in Portland, Oregon is where I left it, on the other side of the damn continent. And I stressed out for 2 weeks, and I remembered where I left it in the room that I was staying in. It's like, oh my God, I put it on the windowsill. Got a hold of them straight away. They went down to the room, and they said, yep, we got it. So, that would have been a year's gap in my sketchbooks, because I have everything going back to 1988. And that's what I was looking for right there. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Yep. That's amazing.
Yeah. Old school G.I.
Yeah, Sean and I, last Thursday Night Battles, so a couple weeks ago, we went through that issue, and we talked about that issue. Issue 30. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so randomly,
that's awesome.
Sometimes I like to reread the Marvel run, but typically, I would always start at one and go through the run. Sometimes you finish, sometimes you don't. You start over a few months later. That's kind of, formulaic in a sense. So what I started doing is just opening up the comic book box and then randomly reaching in and then picking an issue out, and whatever issue I pick is where I start, and then I continue from there. So I started with 30 this time. So I was like, oh man, that cover is great. And I think I even mentioned it to him. I'm like, I'm pretty sure James showed me a sketch he did of that when he was a kid, and I was right.
Yep, that was the one, man. Yep, taking off the fin of the airplane with a chainsaw, like that's
He's got a
badass, man.
diamond tip chainsaw, man. He can cut through anything. Plus, he's a dreadnought, so.
Yeah.
So okay, so the comps. So I'm gonna show the comp. All right, so this is what I'm showing now is it's almost the final artwork, but it's like your pencil sketches colored in, right? And it's got like
Oh, yeah,
gray
right.
sunglasses, right? So this is like your kind of like, is this you scanned in the sketch and you just did a color workup on it prior to doing the final one?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. So, yeah, what I did was all of that is penciled
Mm-hmm.
right there, and this was something I was doing at the time. Like, I don't usually do this rendered of a drawing, but did all the pencils, and instead of sending them something that was black and white, because whenever you send a black and white image to a client, it's difficult to try to elicit what colors are going to be in there, what effects are going to be used, and that sort
Mm-hmm.
of thing. So I wanted to do like an actual color comp and say, here's the kind of thing that I'm thinking with this. And Sean was awesome. Like he was really cool with pushing me to do my thing.
Gotcha.
He was really into like creative freedom for the kind of work that I did. He didn't want me to do a GI Joe piece. He wanted me to do my version of a GI Joe piece, which was really cool and really refreshing. So yeah, I put this together not thinking it was ever going to be accepted. I was like, all right, this is what I would do, and yeah, he was all about it. And so yeah, that's what this is. And you'll notice a lot of differences between this and the final. Namely, the gun is just, I don't know what I was going for with that gun. I don't even think it's anywhere close to what Destro's gun actually is, but it's off-brand, I
Yeah,
suppose.
it's cool though. I like it. I love the little gradients of color on the gun. It's just fun, and it's right up your alley. I remember I think you sent me this, and I was like, and then you asked me about the gun, and I like sent you some images of the gun. I feel like that happened. I could be imagining it. Who knows?
Yeah, that sounds about right. You were definitely my man on the inside. Like just like I gotta get this thing right. How do I get it right, man?
Yeah, man, you definitely. Yeah, you were like, I want to nail this thing. Okay, so then, all right, so I'm going to show the final. So right next to it, right, which is it's got the gold gun, which is still awesome because it's got like those like neon or it's like neon little dials on it, and then it's got the sunglasses, right, and they're like the colored in sunglasses, and everything is just so bright, it's so shiny, man. You got the little bit like your lens flares. Are these the truck stop flares, or have you moved on from the truck stop flares? No one is going to know what I'm talking about, maybe except for Joey. But is it?
Yeah, who knows what's up. No, they're not the truck stop. Yeah, I stopped using the truck stop flares. God, about 7 years ago or something like that. The joke lives on though. But no, these are a lot easier to use, and I have them as set as a global asset in my
Oh
Photoshop.
yeah,
So yeah, they're a bit cleaner than the truck stop. It was way back
yeah.
in the
You,
day.
you've kind of upgraded it to the modern, using all the assets and stuff. But I still okay. So for those who don't know, James used to do his like this weekly. What was it on UStream? Right, UStream broadcast back in the day.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was like every week, and he would do like talk about his work and show like the stuff he's working on and behind the scenes process and his layers. And some point we noticed like he had this flare that he would set the layer on, and like he would set it on like a screen or whatever, and in Photoshop, and we like noticed like it's like an image that has a flare in it, and we're like, what is that image? And like he showed it, and it was like the flare was actually like a street light in a truck stop. So there's like the whole truck stop and everything at night, and then there's like street light with this like bright light, and that's what he was using for flares in certain scenarios. And he was just setting the image to like screen and maybe masking out stuff. But so it
That's
became
right.
the truck stop flare, and every time we would see a flare, we'd be like, "Is that the truck stop?" And he'd be like. For a while it was yes, but then it became no. I'm not using the truck stop anymore. Yeah.
And I like that still in 2020. I'm still answering questions about the goddamn truck stop flare.
Oh, amazing. So yeah, man.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was. Oh man, I miss those. Those were hilarious, man.
Yeah, it was a good time, man.
So okay, so I'm gonna show one more thing. So I'm gonna zoom in So I'm going to show an image where I zoomed in. I put him inside a circle, Destro's head. This could be like an avatar for if Destro PDD had like a Twitter or an Instagram account. But in the sunglasses, it's hard to see otherwise, but you should be able to see it now, is there's a reflection of a Cobra insignia and Cobra emblem, and I love it. I love that little Easter egg hidden in the reflection of the sunglasses. Amazing.
Yeah, that was I give full credit to Sean for that one, man. Like that was his suggestion.
Oh, cool.
And I love putting reflections in sunglasses anyway because it's just a great way to build out a little bit of the illustration or of the world a little bit. But yeah, he came back and said like, hey, why don't you put a reflection of the Cobra insignia in the sunglasses? Like that is a dope as hell idea. Like I'm definitely doing that. That's great. Yeah. That's full credit to him.
Yeah, because Destro's one of those characters that traditionally he hasn't been like straight up Cobra, so he doesn't have a Cobra insignia anywhere on his gear, and PDD definitely doesn't. But his hood kind of is like a Cobra a little bit, but yeah, having that Cobra logo in the glasses is awesome. And this actually does look really good as an avatar. I kind of think you should just save it out and make it available to people for an avatar for social media because it looks it looks badass. Or Hasbro should. Yeah. Hasbro should make avatars of all this artwork, and then people could use them for their social media or something. Oh. And I love that. Like at first, I remember when seeing the first run, it was like, Scarlet Duke, Scarlet Duke's Roadblock and Snake Eyes. That it was all different art, and a lot of people, and I was like, oh, that's weird, like you were used to being the art to being all consistent through all the packaging, But right. The more we reveal and the more different artists we're seeing on these different packages, the cooler it's getting. It's almost like like a gallery show, And it's like what artist is going to do what character next? Like we know these characters are coming. I wonder what kind of art's going to be on the box, and it's interesting to see how Hasbro's kind of pairing up artists with the characters. Like yours is like right on, man. This character's right up your alley.
No, I appreciate that, man, because I had the exact same apprehension when I was working through this, getting glimpses of what the other artwork was. I had the exact same apprehension, thinking like, when we went through this, like He-Man, superpowers, whatever, there was a consistency across all of their packaging. Are you guys sure you want to mix and match it like this? Like, I don't know. But and then once you see the broad picture, it totally works. They were, again, Hasbro was spot on with the decision, in my opinion anyway. Like I think it was a great idea, and the reveal is not only going to be the figure, the reveal is then going to be the artwork that goes along with it. So it's a great idea. Like, yeah, I think they hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah, man, totally. Okay, so box art. Okay, so what I did, everyone, is I loaded up a bunch of box art that we're going to roll through because we're at an hour and I don't want to keep James too late. So we're going to shotgun this. I sent James, because James can't really see the broadcast necessarily unless he's watching YouTube, but it's on a delay for us. So I sent him a PDF, so he has all the images, and I'm going to put them up in order, and we're going to give our impressions about the art and anything that stands out, or just geek out about it, whatever. We're just going to look at it, and whatever comes out of us comes out. We're going full nerd mode. All right? So I'm going to start with G.I. Joe, and we're going to go with the first one, which is the Terror Drome. Is this something you had as a kid? Is this something you had? With Firebat. Did you have this as a kid by any chance?
No, I've never seen this before this moment, man. Actually. Like, I don't. Oh, wait a minute. No, maybe I did. Maybe a friend of mine had it because I recognized the little car, the rolly thing coming out of the left side there.
Yeah, that's a ferret. Yeah, which is sold separately, of course. And the figures are sold separately, but yeah, no, man. This thing is sitting in the corner of this room right now. It is 3 feet by 3 feet or something. It's God damn. Something, whatever it is. It's huge, but it's amazing. So this is something, like you had mentioned earlier, you would walk into a Toys R Us or something and see on the shelf, and you'd be like, oh my God. It'd be, as an 8-year-old or 10-year-old, this thing would be almost as big as you. and you'd be like, oh, it's
Wow.
just crazy. Like, kids are missing out these days. They don't have these experiences anymore. But
Uh,
what do you think about the art on
Play
this, man?
sets. The art is this art is fantastic because it looks so much like a goddamn playset. Like it doesn't look real at all. There's no way that this is a secret base that all these dudes are like doing battle on. It's just it just reeks of a toy. And I love that. Like, and I just love like all the shenanigans that are going
Right,
on.
right.
Like people yelling at each other and scheming and whatever else. Like it's great, man.
Yeah, I love that. Like the Televipers, he's not even. I don't think his hands on a trigger, but somebody's firing the gun, and they're just like firing it down, and Xandar's firing an arrow out of his gun, but they're not firing at any Joes. They're just kind of like firing straight down. They could be hitting Dr. Mindbender. I mean, who knows? And
Yeah, I was gonna say like, who are they? Who are they fighting? Fighting like yeah, and like what's Storm Shadow up to? Like he's got a bow and arrow, but he's not looking the direction he's shooting.
I think it's like the art direction is batshit crazy. That's like they're just it's a fire bat, go crazy, and like we just want chaos, you know. And you got Tomax and Zaymot running toward each other, and then Dial Tone is in the jail, and he's just kind of standing there, so still. It's so depressed looking. Like he's like, these idiots captured me. They can't even fire straight.
Oh man, that's great. There's some dubious perspective going on that upper right cannon.
Yeah,
up there. There's some dubious perspective work there.
I think there's like purposeful decisions made, even though like on these they're like we want to show certain angles, and the only way to get all the angles they want to show is like just throw perspective out the window sometimes, so you can see underneath the top part, but also see the bottom of the door that folds down. And
yeah, you're right.
okay, all right. So next one, we're still in the GI Joe world. Oh, I double clicked it. There we go. The Cobra Bug, which is, my God, one of my favorite things ever. So this is 1988. So this is getting later in the run. This is when like the neon colors started coming out, and it's just cool, man. And all the different guys, you got like the Hydro Viper who looks like a sea demon, like on the sled on the side there. Have you seen this before?
I don't know. If I this front little compartment detaches too, doesn't it? Is that what I'm seeing down in the lower left?
Yeah, it's a submarine, so it pops off.
Right. Okay, I think I saw this on a commercial. I don't remember actually seeing it like for real. But yeah, I think I've seen this on the commercial because I remember that thing detaching.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the little vehicles that come with this. So that I assume the sled comes off and that like hover cycle thing. Oh, these are great.
The little hover, the like red hover thing. Actually, inside that yellow door on the side of the vehicle with the bubble on it, they're stored in there. You open those and you can pull those out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite vehicles because it's so weird.
It's super weird, man. I just got a question. Do the weapons shoot?
No.
Oh no, it says weapons do not shoot. Okay.
Yep, they do not shoot, and some assembly is required. In fact, all assembly is required because the whole thing's in pieces. But yes, later, interestingly enough, when they started including a spring-loaded like missile launchers on these things in like the 90s, it said weapons really shoot on the box, and you're like, oh, cool.
Get out of here.
They do. I should have put one of those in here.
Oh man, it's like they shoot. They shoot?
Yeah, I know. It's like, really?
Like, nope.
Parents are like, I'm not buying you that toy because you're going to kill yourself. So,
awesome.
Okay. So we're leaving G.I. Joe land, and we're going to go into other realms of toys. Starting with Air Raiders. Do you remember this?
God. Yeah, man. Like, I'm not super familiar with the line, but man, I remember seeing this in stores, and that goddamn logo.
Yes!
Look at that thing.
Amazing.
Oh,
this
beautiful.
is also Hasbro. But yeah, that logo is just how it like swoops around the top of the package and comes back. Oh my God. Like this is the era of like hand painted craftsmanship with all of this stuff. Like it was just so the bar was set so high that every toy line had to have like the top notch art, otherwise it would just look stupid on the toy shelf next to the good stuff. So it was just constantly one-upmanship going on.
Yeah, man. And this is something, man, like box art really is like it's gone the way of movie posters in a lot of ways these days, because what I see anyway when I'm walking down the toy aisle is just like 3D renderings of the toy, or like Lego isn't photographed anymore. It's all 3D, and it all looks very samey.
Right.
And like when you have this hand painted quality, it all has like it's at a certain caliber. But if you sat this next to He-Man and next to G.I. Joe, they would all be distinctly different.
Yes.
The language between them all would be different, but caliber wise, they're all just like top notch. Like somebody made this with their goddamn hands.
I know, man.
That's crazy.
I know. It's and there's like a separate painted artwork of the two guys at the bottom, comparing notes. Oh, it's so good. And
I was just gonna ask, like, are they doing their taxes down there?
Hey, man, in the power is in the air. Like basically they're doing inventory on how much oxygen they have left.
Yeah.
So like, and you know what's great about this stuff too is the graphic design on top of the art. Like everything about the typography choices and the color choices is in sync with the art. And this isn't where, still the days where you could just type out Twin Lightning on a computer with the default kerning tables built in, and like the and the I is a mile away from the N, and you just leave it that way and no one notices. Like this is like handset type, and it's all like kerned and it's like solid typography, not just whatever the flavor of the month was. Like they really nailed it, and the typography matched the style of the brand. You know what I mean? G.I. Joe is a lot of Helvetica is very, very stark because they're trying to focus more on the artwork, but this here they're getting a little more stylish with the typography in this one, and I love it. That number two, that number two is sexy. That's a sexy two.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man, and those stripes at the bottom, and and you brought up a good point about pairing typography with the toy packaging, because He-Man has serif Gothic bold.
Right.
Like that's the Masters of the Universe font that you see on everything. It's not necessarily in. I guess it is in their logo, isn't it? Yeah, it sort of is. It's sort of like a rendition of it anyway, but just looking at the toy boxes behind me. But
we might come across some later in this PDF.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get there, man. I didn't even look through the PDF. I wouldn't be surprised by these. But and look at this. Like you look at the Air Raiders logo, you see that yellow to red gradient. That's all the way through the language of this box, and then you see the blue drop. The 3D drop on the logo, and that's the same color blue that you see in the windows and the lasers and stuff. So this is consistent. Like this is really smart visual language happening here. That's like if you see that, distinctly that's Air Raiders because that's their color palette.
Yeah, man.
That's brilliant.
I mean, I just want like posters of these, man. I was like heavy into this line for a period of time. And it was just, and it's, a lot of times you get the toy out and it's cool, but it pales in comparison to the artwork. But the artwork is what kind of like brought you into it, and it kind of sold a promise of the toy. So even though the toy, if you saw the toy first, you'd be like, but because you saw the artwork first, when you see that toy, you're still seeing the artwork in your imagination. So this toy is amazing because the artwork sold it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I was thinking about this before we were going to do this show because, trying to figure out where does box art, because it's disposable, right? Like when I was growing up, unfortunately, I didn't keep a lot of the box art. But the box art, when you saw it in the toy aisle or you opened that present on Christmas morning and you saw the box, that's almost like 2/3 of the imagination that you need right away to start playing with that toy, right? Like you know what it looks like flying through the air. You know what three of them look like when they're grouped together, and like that is such a crazy imagination jump point that you get right off the bat. It slams you right in the face, and like I want to play with this toy because you're right. Sometimes you see the toy and it's like, yeah, But man, the toy in conjunction with the art, like man, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
man. All right, so let's roll on to the fourth one. We're
All
into
right.
Transformers,
Ooh.
and
Oh
and
man.
I want to say one thing I noticed that just crossed my mind when I was looking at this. But out of these feel like more similar to modern toy packaging, like the classified line, where you have a window to the left of, if you're looking at it, to the left of the artwork, right? So you have a smaller space
Right.
for artwork than you might have on the Air Raiders package, but you have to utilize that space like really well. And I love how it's kind of die cut around him, around the character
Oh
there. Oh, so good. And I remember getting
yeah,
a
dude.
Jetfire for Christmas. I think it was '85, and just staring at that art before I even opened up the box. Just staring at that art and being like, "This is
Yeah.
amazing." The little
Yeah.
chrome spots on them. Oh, so good.
Oh man, yeah, and Transformers again, they had that visual language dialed like right out of the gate. It was that black to red gradient with the
Yeah,
grid, and you knew where those Transformers were the second you go down that toy aisle, man, because you could see them a mile
right.
away. And they spared no expense because you mentioned that die cut going around Jetfire, and it would have been different for every friggin'
Yeah,
figure, wouldn't
right.
it? Like yeah, like that's a not cheap,
No, no, it's not.
in 1985. Like,
And
man. Also, is Jetfire different than Skyfire, or am I making up that
so
name?
in the cartoon, he had a different name for some reason, but it was Jetfire as the
Huh.
toy. He also had a
Okay.
different face. Like he actually had a face. This is like a straight up Robotech repaint. This toy.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're gonna
Wow.
stay.
To go
Yeah,
in.
man, it's amazing. So I wish I had. God, I wish I still had my Transformers, but I don't. So we're gonna stay in Transformers land, and we're gonna go to the Decepticon side of the road.
Oh,
And oops, I hit the wrong button. Oh wait, where is it? Hmm.
Paul's trying to use a PDF, everybody.
No,
Hang
yeah,
on.
I'm trying to figure this out, but it's missing. We might have to run into it later. Okay, let's go to 6. And 6 will be Mask. So, are you on 6?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Oh, man. Look at that.
So this is like, oh, man, this Mask, like, very different art style, but still belongs on the shelf with the rest. It's a very different illustrated style.
Yeah.
In fact, it's almost like they took the toy and illustrated over a photograph of the toy. It's very accurate to the
Yeah.
toy, but then added lasers and explosions around it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right, man. Because when you look at stuff like He-Man, you could tell that's an artist interpretation of what that character is and how the pose isn't limited to what the toy does on a He-Man
Right.
thing. But this, you're right. It looks exactly like the actual. God damn, the colors on this are awesome. Good choice, man. Like throwing this one in here. I love those
I
colors.
figured you'd dig
Um,
these, yeah.
but yeah, man. But you're right. It does. It looks like a hyped up, painted version of what the actual vehicle is.
I
The
know,
toy.
right? It's cool. So that plays
Yeah.
right into what you were saying before, is like that 2/3 of the imagination's there because you've seen this thing in action. This thing isn't an exaggerated version of the toy. It is just like an illustrated version of a photograph of the toy doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And there's a poster included. So hey, there you
Oh
go.
man, these are so good. Okay, all right, let's roll on. Let's see. I don't know what's next now. It's all out of order. Who knows what we're gonna look at? Oh, oh, yeah. I
Oh,
figured you
man.
love the Ed 260 in this one.
Right. Yeah, man. Goddamn. Look at that. Like, oh man, we just don't have this anymore. Like
Right.
that is such a damn good painting.
So good. Look at the little lines around the feet and the arm to give you the idea that it's moving. I love it. I just love that.
Or he's like maybe quivering because he's falling backward.
Or he's dancing. Maybe he's just dancing.
Yeah, or he's dancing.
Oh my god, it's so good, man. Like if you're walking into a toy aisle, imagine with the things we've seen just up to this point. The G.I. Joe, the Transformers, the Mask, the Air Raiders, the RoboCop, all next to each other. I mean, it's like overload, visual overload. I'd probably be exhausted by this point, just from taking all this in.
100%, man. And this is other one. I know this has been talked to death, but my God, what a weird move to try to bring RoboCop into like kids' lives, because that first movie is just not for kids. I mean, we all saw it when we were kids, but it's like, ooh, that's a tough pill to swallow, man. And now it's like, hey, let's make him a cartoon hero. And like, I wonder how many like kids got into RoboCop because of the cartoon, and then the parents went to the video rental store and said, "Oh, there's a movie. Do you want to watch this?" And it's just like people getting dumped with toxic waste and liquefying on car hoods, like crazy.
I'll give you another example of that. You might not remember this toy line. Maybe you do. You'll remember the movies. A toy line they made later in the franchise of the movies that if these kids went and watched the earlier movies, it was definitely not PG, probably not even PG-13, but the Police Academy toys and Police Academy cartoon that came later.
That's right.
Like,
I completely forgot that they made those into a cartoon. And
I don't have those in here because the art wasn't up to this standard, I don't think, but it was, they made a cartoon for kids and then made these toys based on the way they looked in the cartoon. But the first couple movies are straight up like nudity and swearing and just adult content. It's only in the 80s would some guy have been like, I know, let's make toys of the Police Academy people. I just...
Yeah. Man, so good. I mean, we could also lump like the Rambo franchise into this too, because the first Rambo, God, it's like pretty violent, and it's all about PTSD and stuff, and like, oh, now he's a action hero with a cartoon and toy line. Like, what? Rambo?
I know.
Right.
It's crazy. They just did whatever they wanted. I'm surprised we didn't get a full Red Dawn toy line.
Yeah, really. We got them now.
Yeah, we do. Okay, all right. So, next one. Boom. Talk about...
man, Dino
there's
Riders.
nothing more 80s than dinosaurs wearing, like, laser robot armor and weird guys with, like, hammerhead shark heads and stuff riding them.
Yeah. So, okay, this is Tycho. What year did this come out? Do you have any idea?
I'm going to say I'm going to throw this out there and guess it's around 88, 87. But I can find out.
Because that lines up pretty snugly with that, like, dinosaur line of He-Man vehicles and stuff that I don't think it was solicited but wasn't released, I don't think.
Yeah,
But it was the same thing. It was dinosaurs with, like, guns on them and stuff.
Okay, so I was right. Series 1 was 88, Series 2 was 89, Series 3 was 1990.
Gotcha. Right.
I'm pretty good, man.
I can't remember what...
I just totally guessed. That's funny.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, well done on that. Like, I kind of want to, like, I'm gonna dig out. Like, we're getting into some research now. I'm gonna see if I have my He-Man book's not in here. Damn it!
I have it somewhere around here. It's in this room, underneath the piles and piles of junk that I haven't organized.
Don't worry about it. I think it was around the same time.
I think it was. I think that T-Rex He-Man came out in 89. I'm going to say it was.
Right. Yeah. Because very weird. I wonder if like Tycho came out with this, and then like that's what stomped on the Masters of the Universe line that was going to come out, or what?
They're always competing. Like these brands. Like, right. I remember a period where like Captain Planet was a big thing. You remember Captain Planet? And then like they had it was this thing, and then all of a sudden G.I. Joe's got Eco Warriors. You know what I mean? So it's just they're always trying to tap into those different things. All right, let's roll to the next one. Oh, dude.
All right.
Dude.
Oh, God. Now, man. Now, do you, like, of course, like, back in the day, these holograms blew our mind right out our ass because, you get those things in the sunlight and they just, like,
right.
Amazing. Do you know the story of these guys? How this happened?
I know how they didn't continue, but I'm not sure about how they started. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm gonna paraphrase the story, but toy companies in the 80s were always looking for whatever new technology was happening, not necessarily technology to do with toys, but technology that they could just work into a toy line. And for this one, it was obviously those holograms. And these things were developed. I could be wrong, but I know there's a connection somewhere. The dude that did the little dove hologram that was on Visa cards, you remember that? The
Oh,
little dove.
yes.
It was on
Oh, right. Okay, this sounds
yeah,
familiar. Yes.
yeah, and it was a connection to that, and somebody at a toy company was talking to him, and then he hooked him up with, I think it was a Chinese company that developed the holograms, and they wanted to do it for a complete toy line, and they came up with Visionaries. I'm
Right.
paraphrasing, and some of the chat room I'm sure will correct me, but that's sort of the story that I've heard it come
Pretty sure
down. So
Chris knows some of this history too. But so this goes right along with what I know. After the first or after this initial wave, when they were working on future waves, the price of the holograms went up, and it went up to a point which probably wasn't even that much, where Hasbro was like, too expensive to do the line, and they canceled the line just because of that. And because the holograms were so
maybe
integral to the characters, there was no real way around it. So,
right. Actually, Paul, I might have had my details reversed. Maybe that was it. Maybe they developed this and then they got the contract for Visa, and that's what made the hologram price go
oh,
up.
maybe.
Maybe that was it.
I'm,
It could have. Yeah, there's a connection. I don't know which one came first, but yeah, it could have been one of those two scenarios.
so Chris says
Yeah.
Bill Merklin. I think he sculpted a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I mean this line, this artwork is just incredible. I didn't get
Oh,
into Visionaries as a kid. I just at that point I was collecting other things. I had so much like Joe's and Transformers and Starcom and Muscles and
right.
Battle Beasts. Like everything was going on at the time. So I didn't get into these, but I remember in the toy aisle staring at the artwork and being like, man, this art is insane. It was almost like you can even see it here, even on the dimmer image. It's almost like you're looking at an LCD screen. Like these look like they're backlit. The art is so bright, but
Right.
it's printed. And back in the 80s, I mean, this is some amazing feat they accomplished, making this look so vibrant.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. And it looks almost like this is high contrast, right? And to put it just on a stark black,
Hmm.
and having number one, having the figure, and they got the holograms on them anyway, but painting the figures in the vehicles and then putting this like mystical, scary like energy behind them that has a bear monster and like some hands, like just what is this line trying to be, right? It's just so different than anything
Yeah.
else. It's futuristic, like Dungeons and Dragons. What's going on? It's great.
Oh man, it's so good. I love this art. There needs to be a collected book of this art somehow.
Yeah, totally, man. And like you can't get more heavy metal band than that logo too. Like that's some badass like Iron Maiden
Yes,
stuff right
that's
there.
oh man, straight out of the 80s. It's so good. Okay. All right, next one.
Judas
Get
Priest.
ready, dude.
Ah, yeah, there we
I
go.
know you're a big Brave Star fan.
Nice. I love me some Brave
This
Star.
is
Oh, that's
I
great.
had some other art, but I loved this scene so much with the jailbreak and like the bartender in the corner, like what's going on? You know, like it's just oh, it's just crazy. It's so good.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love that the planetary jail sign and the command center are all in chrome in the town.
Oh, dude.
Like that's
Dude,
great.
and I don't know if it
Yeah.
translates, but the Brave Star logo is actually like foil stamped. It's foil stamped gold,
Oh,
which
awesome.
is cool.
Man, this line and cartoon is such a bummer, man, because this was canceled just ahead of its time. Like it's such a great concept, like great characters, so like colorful, and it was so different
Yeah.
than anything else that was
It
on.
doesn't get its it
Like
doesn't
man,
get
and the
its
food
due
was
at
big.
all. You know, it just never got its due. It was just the voice acting was great. The intro to the cartoon was amazing. The theme song was
Man, yeah.
great. You know, the animation was top notch.
Yeah, man, so good, and Yeah, definitely cut down ahead of its time, and the figures were bigger than all the other figures, and maybe that had something to do with it being canceled or whatever. They couldn't afford to make figures that big or something, but just great gun design too. I always loved that like kind of double barrel
Mm-hmm.
top and bottom gun design too, like really cool.
Yeah, it's so good. Chris says regarding the Visionaries, his friends of his collect the prototype stuff, and they have a lot of the Series 2 stuff that never came out. They literally have two-ups of Series 2 items that were only used in catalog shots. So the two, are you familiar with two-ups? So
I am
so two
not.
ups are like what they would do, like GI Joes, for example, or these. They would sculpt the figure at 2 times the size. Sometimes there might be. I think in some lines there were
Oh,
4 ups, and then so they would be bigger. And then once they got the sculpt down, it would get shrunk down for the actual production toy.
gotcha.
So that's cool.
Wow. Chris, you got friends that collected the two ups? Wow, that's crazy.
Dude, I know. There are people in the collecting community that collect like a lot of these prototypes or stuff like that. But I mean, it's depending on the toy line. I mean, it's some big money. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah. Wow, that's
All
wild.
right, so let's move on to lucky number 11. Oh, this is a random one, but I had to throw it in. I don't know if
Holy
you've ever,
crap. I don't have a lot.
I don't know if you've ever seen this before. I remember this number one from like Sears wish book catalogs. Like I would see it in there, and it was in there for like 3 years in a row. But I remember staring at this beast. The mouth of this thing. It's called like Argus. And I'm like, what is this? And it's like basically you would build
Right.
these, and then they're like mechanical. There's like mechanical parts that would like they move, and you'd have to build them and construct them in the right way so they would like do whatever motorized things that they would do.
Right. Holy crap. That's some badass typography on this box, I tell you that. That's like avant-garde, I think.
Yes.
I think that's what
Yep, avant-garde with the and then they customized it for the O's, right? So they're like the little
right, yeah, with the bolts.
hexagonal. Is that how you say it? Like, so they look
Yeah,
more
sure.
construction like. But the space, it's in
Oh,
space, and there's like a Saturn thing, and stars, and there's a rocket blasting off in the background. Oh, it's so good.
yeah. No, this would have been made like this looks like a 70s toy. Like I don't know if they like repurposed it for an 80s market or something like that, but this thing reeks of 2001: A Space
I
Odyssey.
bet you're right.
Just like the typography, and the I think I've seen a poster that has this style of painting on it. Like it just kind of
There's a
yeah,
lot of
just kind
that
of
kind.
reeks of
Yeah, yeah.
2001.
There's a lot of this kind of stuff that they repurposed in the 80s from stuff from the late 70s. I bet you're right on with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw this in as a little break before we get to something else, which is your favorite stuff. Now, Spydor is the next one here, and
Right.
this thing. Did you have Spydor? Because I did.
No, I didn't. I didn't have very many vehicles. I remember this damn thing though.
Dude, it is all right. So we're in Master of the Universe territory, and it is like some of the best art you're gonna see out of the '80s in any form for anything that existed. I mean, this art is just incredible. So much so that I didn't feel like this just the box would do it justice. So if you go to the next page, and I'll go to. Here's the full
Ooh.
up without the typography, just so we can
Yeah, man.
appreciate the art. And my God, man, like if you don't want to buy a giant robotic spider with a skull-faced dude riding it and a Conan guy in front of it, I mean, I don't. Something wrong with you if you don't want that.
Yeah, dude. No kidding, man. And you got in there battle damage He-Man and Skeletor in there. Man, and now this is what we were talking about earlier with Mask having such a perfect representation of the vehicle that's inside of it. This is Spydor, but it's posed in a way that the vehicle never could be posed in, just to give it that excitement, that action. Is this an Earl Norem piece? I
I
assume it
think
is.
a lot of this stuff was Earl Norem, and then there was some other artists. Chris might know. Chris says that he has the Eternia on display in his house in the box. That's pretty. That's some heavy duty.
Oh, man. Badass, Chris. That is
I
awesome.
almost put the Eternity artwork in here, but I chose a few others. There's so many. I'm like, we're not going to be able to get through them all. So, but yeah, man, I remember we got Spydor for it was Christmas, and we like hooked it. We took it out of the box, put the batteries in it. It was ready to go, and it was walking across the hardwood floor. It was doing a little slipping and sliding, on the hardwood floor, but it was doing its thing. The dog just freaked out. We had a dog. And the dog's freaking out, running around, barking at this thing, not knowing what to do with it. Oh, it was hilarious.
Yeah. Fantastic. And I just noticed that, is Skeletor, does he have He-Man's sword in this? And He-Man's trying to get it back?
Yeah, it's not purple. I think it might be. Yeah. Or there is a little bit of a purple backdrop, so maybe he's like, well, I'm going to have to make this a different color. But, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, maybe.
I like that story.
Because He-Man's got his axe, and he's coming after him, and Skeletor's like, bah! An axe!
You'll never get your sword, He-Man!
Like everybody can do a Skeletor.
No, it's perfect.
I heard you and Chris doing it the other night.
Yeah, that's awesome. Funny. Okay, all right, so we're staying in Motu. All right. This is a classic, but this is... For the people who know, this is the second release of Battle Cat, because this comes with the Battle Damage He-Man, Battle Armor He-Man.
Right. Battle Armor, yeah.
So this box is ratty, but I kind of like the image because it gives you that sense of age. But if you go to the next slide, you get a full screen version. Oh,
there it is.
Of that art. Oh, that art is ridiculous. The angle. Oh,
that's just like. This is some dope stuff, man. Like, He-Man, number one, like, he has a great design out of the gate, right? With his, like, armored sports bra that he's wearing or whatever. And you get, like, then Battle Armor comes out, and it is debatably a better design than the original He-Man. With the full armor vest with the H.
The H looks ridiculously great. That design, you know what? I almost hate it that it's so good. It's so simple and so great.
Yeah. Because it challenges us as kids, right? Because we're like, well, I want to like the original He-Man better, but this is such a great design. And it's almost the same with Skeletor. Like, the bat on his chest looks so good.
Yeah, I was going to say, how awesome is it that it's basically the same basic shape, right? So it could fit into that little rolling battle armor window, right? So they couldn't do an H, and an S wasn't going to work. So they did a bat. And oh, man, how awesome.
Yeah. So great, man. I mean, Skeletor has the little, like, hint of a bat on his, the original little sports bra that he wears. There's a little, like, bat on there. Yeah, but they really brought it out with that battle damage or the battle armor, man. Now, I could be wrong here, but I think memory serves me correctly. The original Battle Cat, I always thought the box art for that one was strange because Battle Cat never had his headpiece on.
So the original box art from the original release of just Battle Cat is yes, he doesn't have the armor. This is the later the second, a different set of art for this box. Yes.
Right, yeah, and I'm glad they put the headpiece on it because, I mean, that's Battle Cat to us, right? And it was always weird to see him just, like, kind of growling and like, well, if he doesn't have the battle armor, isn't he Cringer? And shouldn't he be, like, a wimp? Like, we never see Battle Cat without his headpiece.
Oh, man, but that headpiece is, like, how awesome. How iconic is that? It looks so good.
Yep. Goddamn. Modeled onto a big gin tiger.
I know.
Crazy.
It's awesome. White Vegeta says, I'm watching this on YouTube on my TV. And, man, these are some beautiful pictures. Yeah, man, I can imagine, like, on a big screen. These are high-res images I was able to find, so good.
Nice. These are beautiful scans.
Yeah, man, they're so good. Okay, so we're going to the last one. This is my all-time favorite Masters Universe vehicle. I had this. I loved it. It's so ridiculous. It's so amazing. But, and there you got the Seraph Gothic on there.
I think you might have seen my...
I said you got your Seraph Gothic on there. I forgot to mention that before.
Oh, right. Yeah, man. I think you might have seen, like, when I was on stage for a number of years, I had this image in my talk. And it was just such a perfect representation of. I used it as an example of how awesome and ridiculous the '80s were, like at the exact same time, and how I would have loved to have been in William George's office when he got the brief for this thing. Like, hey, it's a tank with a shark head on the front, and it's being driven by an angry skeleton.
We're gonna call it Land Shark because it's on the land. You get it? So again, then the final page of your PDF, James, we have the full-on artwork for this with the lizard in the foreground and the crack with the into like the center of the Eternia with the steam coming out. You got the William George's signature there. You could see it off to the right of the mist.
Yeah.
My God. And look at that angle on Skeletor's face, like with the little red dots in the center of his skull holes there for his eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, dude. This was I don't know what year. I want to say 1985. It was Easter of 1985 or 1986, whenever the Land Shark came out, and I got this. Mom got it for me. Mom and Dad did, and man, one of the best Easter presents I ever got was the goddamn Land Shark, man. Like, I could not. We were visiting my aunt and uncle at the time, and we could not get home fast enough for me to slam Skeletor into this thing. So
you know,
good.
it's got that chomping action when you roll it. Oh, it's so good. And like the teeth were made of like that soft, like rubbery material, so you wouldn't hurt yourself if you had your hand in it. But I loved scooping up He-Man figures with the mouth of this thing. Oh, it was so much fun. Joey says, I need to get Land Shark so I can put PDD Destro in it.
Ooh, yeah. Good idea, Joey.
That's hilarious.
He'd love that. Goddamn machine guns on the back of it. Like, man.
Again, this is like
so
the
great.
art selling the promise of the toy. You know, you see this art and your imagination just goes crazy, you know? And the toy may not live up to the art, but you've already seen the art. So in your mind, the toy does live up to the art. It's the extension of the art. Oh, so good.
Yeah, 100%, man. And this is one of those toys that like totally sells too when you open it up and get it out of the package. Like, it looks like that, you know? It's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I love the color palette, by the way. I want to mention that. The blue side piece with that magenta head and like the orange teeth and the yellow eye, like, oh, so good.
Yep, 100%, man. I just flipped back to the toy image of it, and it does the chomping action down at the bottom.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I lit that up. Yep, it does the chomping action, which is so cool. It like sells it. You're like, oh, it bites when you move it. Oh my God. What does it say? It says push down and roll forward, jaws open, snap shut. That's all you got to say.
Snap shut.
Chris says,
Land Shark.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say down the bottom, it says Land Shark, evil monster / vehicle. Like that for a
Yeah, so you don't like, is it alive or is it just does this have a conscience?
God, I hope not.
Chris says Rudy Obrero drew the original Battle Cat art on the original box, but Williams George drew the second Battle Cat release, is the one we looked at. And William George did the Land Shark, which we saw a signature there. Oh, and he did Spidor. So it's like the later releases, William George got the bulk of the work. We're on a William George love fest. I didn't realize. Maybe it's just I gravitate toward his style because these are the ones I picked.
Yeah, maybe. Like, I know Earl Norham had more of like a fantasy style, like a classic Conan sort of joint, and maybe maybe George was more about like the cartooniness of the style or something. Like, I know there's we're splitting hairs here because they're pretty close, but yeah, good stuff.
Cool. All right, that was awesome, man.
Oh man.
All right, so
good selections,
man. I was like, I want to nerd out about some of this art with James because he's one of the guys I know that really appreciates this stuff.
Oh, you damn right.
Yeah, I mean, when we hang out before we meet up at a conference or something, man, we would just start geeking out about this stuff. Everyone around us, like, I remember a couple times we were at a design conference and everyone's like in design discussions about, you know, like serious design things. Maybe they're trying to network, do these things, and I'm just like, let's talk about like Earl Norm and like let's talk about He-Man art and like we're just talking and we're just making up stories and stuff and people are like, who are these nerds? Like, what are they even doing here?
Yeah, dude, we were in Cleveland at Weapons of Mass Creation, and we were like when we first started like talking or the conversation, there was like a group of 6 or 7 people around us or something, and me and you started going. I think that's the genesis of Uzi Copter.
It was.
I think that's when that came out. So yeah, Uzi Copter is a movie that me and Paul invented, but will never make. About like I guess it stars us as sort of like like the Double Dragon Brothers sort of thing, and we're like, we have like a copter, a helicopter, and we both have Uzis, and it's Uzi Copter, and you know it's just us doing awesome '80s stuff.
Remember the helicopter though? The front of it had a gun, just a gun on the front, like an Uzi. So the copter was actually like a flying Uzi, and then there was like a yacht that had like, you know, like this typical 80s thing, like a cocaine party probably going on, and there's like it's like models and stuff on it, but then they get hijacked by terrorists, and next thing we're dropping in out of a copter, firing Uzis, saving everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on that one on either side of the helicopter, and we're just like shooting people off the side of the boat or whatever, or like taking over the boat or something. I know our buddy Nick Evans, Moondog. He was the guy flying the copter. He was he's in there.
He was the pilot. He was the Wild Bill of Uzi Copter.
Yeah, that's right. It's just an action figure line waiting to happen, man.
What the heck? Awesome. All right, so I know it's getting late for you. So real quick, let's if you want, we can wrap up with a quick mail call. If you have anything to show that you've gotten in the mail recently, that's really cool.
Oh, yes, I do.
Aha, I knew you would.
God damn.
I knew you would.
Oh, man. I got this. All right. Now, I don't know if this looks familiar to you. God, I'm going to butcher his name. I apologize. Kickley Skillick?
Yes. I know who you're talking about.
Now, do you recognize this thing?
I do.
Now, this is a zine